Pause. Options. Video. Performance. Nintendo's Dragon Drive launched this week, which was surprising to me because just 3 months ago I expected that it would disappear unceremoniously. But I must say, while I think this game is dry, dusty fluff and designed backwards to justify a hardware gimmick and deserves every bad review it gets, I do also think that Nintendo, the publisher, handled it pretty well. Because Dragon Drive is ultimately an inoffensive failure. Firstly, they never built it up too much. It was shown off for the first time ever back in that April Direct. And then soon after, there was that Nintendo Treehouse where they struggled to make it look fun at all.
All right, I'm going to try to set us up here.
That was silly.
All right, Teresa, got it.
Then there was an overview trailer just 2 weeks ago. By the way, I like the announcer they hired for this.
On the way. Drag and drive.
And by the way, it's weird how they pronounce the X as and. And I'm guessing every YouTuber and podcaster and brother-in-law has already gone over this, but it needs to be restated how weird it is. Up to this point in my life, an X in the title's been pronounced one of 3 ways. X, cross, or not at all. Here, they think they can get away with just calling that and. I think to be cool. I think they just wanted it to look edgy. Edgier than the word and. Thing is, I feel like if the title isn't an intentional play on drag and drop, it is just one that they just didn't think about, but they absolutely were thinking about the phrase drag and drop. Because of the mice, I presume. So already it's not a cool title, but I feel like the X is there to make it cool. There are some pretty cool plus signs and ampersands out there. It's like they didn't even look. And then there was a limited beta 1 week ago. And then this week, a digital-only release. Not going to find this one at GameStop. For the low, reasonable price of $20 US. Now you might say, I don't know, $20 seems kind of steep for a game like Dragon Drive. And you would be right, but by Nintendo standards, $20 is practically nothing. It's like they're giving this game away. But from the marketing perspective, I'm glad that they never propped this game up as more than it is. There was never a CG tease of the title reveal. There was never a commercial in front of Fantastic Four First Steps, despite my initial utter bafflement at this game's reveal. That can't be the full game. That can't be it, bro. That can't be it. It does seem like this whole time maybe they did know what they have in Dragon Drive, which is to say not much. Compared to Star Fox Zero, right? Which had this real, the Wii U's life is relying upon this one game energy. Buddy, that was 169. That was not nice. Dragon Drive doesn't have nearly that level of responsibility. I feel like in 2 years, people won't even talk about it anymore, not even to make jokes. And I'm not talking about like forgotten like ARMS. People remember ARMS. ARMS has a Smash Bros character. You can make a joke about ARMS and your friends will laugh at it. I'm talking forgotten like that remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, or Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, or The Stretchers. Your friends won't laugh at a Stretchers reference. Still $20, by the way. I just think it's unfortunate that it's so early in the system's life. Of the 4 original Switch 2 games Nintendo has published so far, 2 of them are best to be ignored. But also, one of them is Mario Kart World, and one of them is, hands down, undebatably, the greatest game of the 2020s. So that's something. So imagine you're listening to a new album from a band you like a lot, and track 1 is really good. It's pretty good. And then track 2 stinks. It's really bad. I don't even know why they did that. Track 3, whoa. Probably one of the best songs you've heard in years. Wow. They still have it. And then track 4 sucks. You don't like, why would they? That's not them. This can't be the same band. This song is yogurty. Enough. So you still have that one song you like a lot. That still means something to you, but the flow is off now. The momentum is weird. The way I see it, the Switch 2 is at a real momentum tipping point here in mid-August. And no, I don't mean sales momentum or stock value momentum. No, I'm talking about public perception momentum. So I can never be proven wrong. And that brings us finally to the list portion of this video. You know, I used to make videos that were just the list. I don't know what happened. Anyway, here are my 4 determining factors for the direction and velocity of the Switch 2's momentum. Number 1, easy one, Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4 is just right around the corner, officially speaking, and yet, just talking excitement, just talking momentum. It might as well be a new season of Becker. The game has 2 trailers, technically 3 if you count this old puff of smoke. It's been demoed publicly.
And now I can use the right thumbstick or a little bit of motion sensor here, and I can kind of aim, and you see it's a little slow here.
It'll be demoed more at Gamescom. Maybe it's just another one of my delusions, but I want to believe there is a grander plan for the rollout of this game. You all had your jokes about the power to open doors, haha, okay, but that was just the beginning. Witness now, a veritable GOTY candidate. On the other hand, if it's just a 30-hour chase through time and space trying to catch up with Psylux, but he's always one step ahead of you, look out. Prepare yourself for Metroid Prime 4's mid-takes. Number 2, the far-off game. The one at the end of the next Nintendo Direct. So I think it's easy to say where we stand now. Both of the recent Zelda games were announced way too early. Obviously, both of those games hit hurdles they could not have predicted. But even then, they were announced way too early. They were shown off before anybody should have seen them. I say this, and yet I do think there is some value to that type of game. I feel like you're always interviewing your consoles, and you're saying, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Right now, the Switch 2 doesn't have an answer to that. Think about Donkey Kong Bonanza. How that game went from fairy dream dust to full-on game you can play in just 3 months. Right? They could have drip-fed trailers for that game for years on end, and yet, no, it had a really short rollout. And so I feel like there is an in-between, an ideal in-between there. I believe that in our hearts, we do want that far-off Nintendo game. We want that game we're talking and thinking about for years. We want that game that at the end of the trailer, they don't even have a guess for the release year. We want that trailer just, it opens up in a futuristic garage. Some kind of mechanic works here, right? And it's zooming in more. And you hear the roar of engines. It's overbearing. But just beneath that, you kind of think, is that the F-Zero music? It zooms in more. Everything's rattling around, right? There's a wrench rattling. But it seems like we're focusing in on this one high-tech oil can. You're definitely sure you hear the F-Zero music. And then, on that oil can, a bunch of Pikmin show up and they take it away. Coming? Not soon. That's what I'm talking about. Now you might be saying, oh, like that Contraband trailer you made fun of just last week? No. Like that Contraband trailer, but with Pikmin in it. Duh. So let's say there's a Nintendo Direct in September, and it comes and goes, and they don't really have anything past Duskbloods. People will get antsy. I mean, not me. I'm fine. I'm good. With Donkey Kong Bonanza, basically Nintendo made me not antsy for 5 more years. I'm set. I was a shaking island. Nintendo punched in the numbers, and I'm cooled off. However, I do realize there's a whole ocean of other shaky islands out there, and they need to be satiated in their own ways. Number 3, Mario Kart World DLC. Here's a bold prediction for you. Mario Kart World will have DLC announced before the end of this year. It simply has to. Look at these freaking sales. Like, if Nintendo is serious about their precious C button in garnering more interest for Nintendo Switch Online, they have to treat Mario Kart World, their singular viable online game, as if it is year 1 of Marvel Rivals. I'm saying if they're at that level of boosting it, of adding stuff to this game, new tracks, old tracks that you love and have a new look at them, characters you never thought of but totally fit in this world now that you think about it. If they had like stuff like that, this game could turn from where it currently is now, where it's like, to something that may be a veritable GOTY candidate. However, if the new DLC is here come the 3 body types from Drag and Drive, I don't know if the game could ever recover. Probably looking at 5.63 million returned Switch 2s. Finally, number 4, veritable GOTY nominations. And I want to be clear, I'm not just talking about the Game Awards nominations. I'm talking about all of them. Yeah, even Eurogamer. Yeah, even freaking Giant Bomb.
Number 1, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown.
Because pointless as they may be, Game of the Year lists get attention. They are entertaining. They're condensing everything down into this thing and they magnify the greatness. They're fun to look at, fun to read. They're juicy. Think about Balatro. Balatro was doing well before award season last year, but then it became this whole other high-tier game when people started acknowledging it as one of the best. Nintendo was outside of most any top 5 discussion last year. In fact, they were probably outside of most top 10 discussions. If we're being honest, probably outside of most top 15s. If we're being brutally honest, probably outside of any top 20s. But Donkey Kong Bonanza is a lock for 2025. Whether it ends up taking home a bunch of GOTYs will depend on individual perception of brilliance, but it'll be in the discussion. All right, this might be too crazy, but imagine if Kirby Air Riders isn't insanely boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if Rolling Stone is like, Kirby Air Riders is number 1? Could really shift the fate of the Switch 2. So what I'm saying is, like, if the Switch 2 manages to hit 3 of those 4 points, it's going to be in great shape momentum-wise. However, if they fail in most of these categories, look, they'll have the sales, sure, they'll have the stock market value, but they will lose the hearts and imaginations of the jabbering YouTubers and the Reddit users. And at that point, Godspeed. And that's delayed input and the end of the Flamingo shirt season. This one, if you've been wondering the whole time, says, don't make me put my foot down. It's kind of a wordplay. Delayed input, so typically we go on a 3-week break with an in-betweener in the middle there somewhere. That'll be happening again. So delayed input will return September 12th, 2025. As for the near future for me, I will be now heading to Germany for Gamescom Opening Night Live 2025. Starting officially at all these times you see here, but you might want to show up a half hour earlier for the Gamescom Opening Night Live pre-show, which typically are pretty good. Sometimes they get to make game announcements right there in the pre-show. As for the host, nobody knows who's hosting at this point. That's a big mystery, but probably a pretty good host. Not like a funny host per se, but, good enough. All right, again, delayed input comes back September 12th. Until then, thanks for watching. So I spent that whole video talking about the Switch 2's momentum, and I could feel you thinking at the end there, all right, now do Xbox and PlayStation. For you, I will. So let's start with Xbox. In my opinion, the momentum for Xbox is not great. Remember when Perfect Dark got canceled? And Xbox, the console, is of course intrinsically linked to Xbox, the publisher, who is intrinsically linked to Microsoft, the corporation. Obviously, there are some sweet successes, but there are still many studios who are kind of freaked out that their game could get canceled at any moment. And then there are some studios who are kind of freaked out that their parent company might be supporting what the Israeli military is up to at any moment. But really, just looking at the console itself, the Xbox Series S and X, I feel like all enthusiasm for that has already shifted onto whatever is next. Even Xbox's official messaging is now, wait till you see what we have cooking. We're going to get them next time. Just saying this guy doesn't have a lot of heat on him. It's just really hard to imagine the Xbox Series line gaining momentum at this point. It's as if you're watching a camel walking up a mountain, wondering when it's going to start speeding up. I don't think camels can climb mountains. As for the PlayStation 5, this is a weird spot because Death Stranding 2 is excellent. Ghost of Yotei, probably going to be great. And yet, I wonder if it too, like the Switch 2, needs that kind of far-off game to be thinking about when you're trying to sleep at night. But then something I've also been thinking about is how much of an extreme case Grand Theft Auto 6 is. This game alone, not being on PC for however many months, is more powerful than any other first-party exclusive you could imagine. When I'm thinking about whoa, Kingdom Hearts 4 is actually going to come out at some point. When I'm fantasizing about putting skill points to increase Wolverine's claw damage by 5%, that's all marshmallows and cotton candy compared to the solid diamond impact of even a pretty good GTA 6. You're going to have friends who've not even talked to you in years messaging you saying, "Do you have a PlayStation 5?" And you're going to say, "Yeah." And they're going to say, "Can you hook me up, please?"